What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of SSPN. I feel like we say this every time, but it really has been a little bit longer of a minute this time. Just a little few extra days there. We weren't able to schedule one, but I think it works out perfectly, Ethan, because the Spurs don't have a game tonight, and it's right after the end of the Rodeo road trip, and we have some stuff to talk about. Obviously, Spurs playoff hopes, maybe a little bit out of the picture. Maybe a little bit of still hope that you could hang on to for the play-in. But really, the story of the Rodeo road trip was Lonnie Walker. But before we get into that, Ethan, just want to ask you from your perspective, what were your thoughts on the Rodeo road trip? What are your thoughts on the past couple games and Spurs basketball as of late?
I'm going to be honest. I was pleasantly surprised by how well we were able to play during the Rodeo road trip because, we weren't playing scrub teams, but we were able to be competitive pretty much in every single game, especially against, was it Miami? I'm trying to look at the stats real quick. Yeah, Miami. We only lost by 4, and we didn't have DJ, Jakob, or Keldon Johnson playing in that game. So that was huge, and obviously, like you said, Lonnie Walker kind of taking that turn we were hoping he would take at the beginning of the year. I don't know why it took so long for him to get going. Maybe this is just gonna maybe after a couple of these games, he's going to go back to regularly scheduled programming, knocking on wood. Hopefully not. But what we're seeing right now is what we were hoping to see all along, which is an aggressive Lonnie Walker who's looking to score and can also create for others and be that Manu Ginobili-ish role off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you made a great point there on being competitive because even that Grizzlies game that was 118-105, really that was kind of closer than the score indicated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
And you can't help John Morant just going
yeah.
off.
At one of the losses, Chicago 120-109, that's a little closer than it was. The only game where there was really a blowout was the Cleveland game. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
overall, more losses than wins. You went 4-5. But really, when you consider the circumstances of this team, right after the trades, kind of not it's not a new season and it's not a new team because a lot of these guys have been playing together for multiple seasons, but it kind of was like the introduction of a little bit of a new system. Obviously not like a complete overhaul. There's a lot of similarities from the first half of the year, but just with the exit of Derek White and now the emergence of Lonnie Walker averaging 20 points over the past 6 games and 17 plus at least every single game over the past 6 games, he's had at least 17 points, and his game high has been 23. He's led us in scoring twice over that stretch as well. But like you said, I mean, the main thing is just having that bench scoring. That's what we've been wanting Lonnie to be
Mm-hmm.
for literally ever. Basically, what he's doing right now is what we've been wanting him to be since that Houston game in 2017. Or
Yeah,
was
something
that
like that. Might have been 2018.
2018? I think it was 2018, yeah.
Yeah.
But the main thing that I noticed, because before we got on air today, I was watching Lonnie Walker highlights just over these past couple stretches. I was able to find like 3 games where it was just him, and it's really super simple, Ethan. When you look at his improvement, it's all about control. Like
Mm-hmm. Yes.
literally, he's just more controlled, and the acrobatic plays he's making them, they're not turnovers anymore. That's really the switch. But I also think that the space that has been created on the floor with the exit of Derek White has also allowed him to flourish a little bit. There's just less clogging in the back lanes, in the back
Mm-hmm.
court, excuse me.
And I think it comes down to comfortability too. Comfortability kind of goes hand in hand with that control. He knows his role now. There's not like this mental like leap he has to make, like as in what am I supposed to do this game? Am I supposed to come out here and just score? Am I supposed to play make for
Am I
others?
supposed to be off ball?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what am I supposed to do? Now it's very defined because he knows his backcourt mate Trey Jones. He's like, bro, I'm just gonna give you the ball and let you go. Like I don't need to score. And Devin's now starting, so he doesn't have to worry about sharing, the 6-man minutes with Devin Vassell anymore. He's the clear cut 6-man coming off the bench to provide that spark. And another thing about Lonnie's road trip, which was very impressive to me, usually he's not very efficient of a scorer. Like he'll put up 20 points, but you're like, he shot way too many shots or he shot way too many threes and missed all of them. But the only game he was sub 50% field goal percentage
It was
was
Oklahoma
against
City.
Oklahoma City. Um, so that's like a huge improvement in my eyes, and it goes hand in hand with what you were saying, which is control. He's taking the shots that they're giving him. He's being aggressive. His first inclination is get to the rim. If they stop you. I'm going to pull up for an easy jumper. And his jumper looks more controlled. I'm glad you said that because I know you're talking about losing the ball and like
Mm-hmm.
just turning the
Yep.
ball over.
Exactly.
But his jumper looks like his legs are more set underneath him. He looks more on balance the entire time. Because early in the season, it was like, oh God, here comes Lonnie Walker with his DeJounte Murray impression, trying to make mid range jumpers, and none of them are
Yeah.
falling. But now it seems, at least for the past few games, that he's kind of found his rhythm and his comfort zone, and that's very exciting because I was high on him going into the season, and he's really disappointed me up until this point, and now he's showing us what he's capable of. Hopefully, it can continue because if he finishes the season this way, he's given the Spurs a hard like it's going to be hard for them not to give him like a big contract.
So that's kind of, I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of my question. And I feel like this is probably what a lot of Spurs are thinking about right now. Because really, as we just mentioned, playoffs, play in, we know even if the Spurs somehow miraculously get into the 10 seed, they're not going anywhere, even if they were to miraculously win the tournament, right?
Yeah.
And so this really is kind of the core thing. It is when it comes to the franchise moving forward is who are you going to pay and who are you not going to pay? And, what is the plan this offseason? Do you want to make moves? Do you want to try to, get somebody like Zach LaVine and start pairing somebody with DeJounte now before he hits free agency in, 2 years? There's a lot of questions, but this one I think right now is the biggest one we know for sure. And it's one, are you going to offer Lonnie Walker, which I think depends on the rest of the year. But then two, how much are you going to pay him, right? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of that depends on his performance as well. But honestly, I don't know if he maybe some other team will give it to him, but I don't know if he's really earned a big deal because that was what you mentioned there. Even if he continues this kind of, at least 17-point stretch, because if you just do it for half a season, it's still okay, maybe this was the answer. And really, the Spurs know more than anybody, so that's the good thing.
Yeah.
And they have a good track record, so whatever decision they make, is probably going to end up being the right one. But I just don't know, even if is it too little, too late? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It's hard to say, but no matter what happens, I don't know. I don't know this for certain, obviously, but I don't think there's another team out there that will offer him more money than the Spurs. Like even the Spurs offering him what we would consider a mid to low deal, that's probably in my eyes still more than what another team would offer him because he's statistically speaking, he hasn't really performed that well, like you're saying. And we how am I going to put this? I don't envision another team seeing Lonnie Walker and saying that guy is going to take us over the hump and be our next star player. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
the Spurs front office, knowing who he is,
that's true.
drafting him, are more likely to give him a contract. And Tanner is
Yeah,
yeah, he's a restricted free agent. So that's a good point. So we could, in all honesty, technically not offer him anything other than the
yeah.
qualifying. And then if nobody offers him anything, he's going to have to accept it. Or I
That's what
guess
always happens in 2K.
exactly. Exactly. We're going to do it the 2K way.
Because we're going to make 2K real life.
Yes. I
And
think
Ronnie's
so.
going to be president.
I'm down for that. And
I'm not down for that. He makes bad games.
but
Anyways.
yep. What was I going to say? I honestly also I was looking at free agency. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if the Spurs are going to make a big move. I could see them going for Zach LaVine. I don't know if Zach LaVine would want to come to San Antonio because of the current situation in Chicago.
Their cap is interesting.
We can get to that here in a second.
Yes.
But my point was Lonnie Walker the fourth might be the best free agent signing that we have this offseason
If he continues
if he
playing the way.
continues
Yeah.
to play this way. And if that's the case, I'm not exactly mad at that, Jude, because even if he reverts back to his uncontrollable, inconsistent ways, we have Primo right behind him. We have Joe Wieskamp, who's just gained 5 pounds of muscle this season, so he's looking a little bit better. Trey Jones also, plus the draft coming up. He's not irreplaceable, if that makes sense. And we can trade him for assets. So
That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I think Derek White getting traded at the deadline showed that Brian Wright is, he's He's got ice in his veins.
Yeah, apparently so. If you
Yeah.
disappoint him, he will move you.
Not only that, I mean, he's able to make those moves too, because that's tough. Like with the Spurs
Hmm.
culture and the relationships that they build with everybody, especially somebody like Derek. Granted, you sent him to like, you know, Ime and Will Hardy's new team, so
Yeah.
like, with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, so it's like you sent him to a good situation. He's in a good spot. Um, but anyways, the point is that means that would be a realistic move, you know, because you say that 2 off seasons ago, where like the Spurs don't trade anybody, but now
Hmm.
it seems like the door is open for that. And if you sign him to an affordable contract, you know, you still have that option, especially with the draft, like you mentioned, because you know, I don't think that we have like I really don't think we're using all those 3 picks. I think that there's going to be some sort of move made with him.
I wouldn't be surprised based
There's
on
no
what we
way.
did.
Like if you just look at our roster and how many people like we have coming back, like there's no way. Unless we're just gonna bring on 3 new first round rookies, but that would
Which
be
a move is coming, whether it be
yeah.
some of those draft picks to consolidate into one draft pick or whatever, or maybe we're overhyping how much the Spurs like some of our current players. Maybe they're just going to move a bunch of our guys
That's what
currently.
I think's gonna happen. I think that they're gonna make a move and they're gonna get DeJounte some help. I know we're here in March. First episode of March, by the way.
Yay! Happy
Yeah.
March.
Yeah, March Madness coming up, so that'll be fun. More
Mm.
basketball. Learn about some dogs throughout the tournament there. But yeah, I really think that's what's gonna happen.
Mm. I wouldn't be surprised. Is Jason not Jason? Is it Jason Richardson?
Josh Richardson.
Josh Richardson. I'm like, it's not Jason. It's a different. There's another Jason Richardson that played
Jo-
basketball. Josh
yes.
Richardson. Is he expiring?
He has an $18 million team option, or
Oh,
it might be a player option. Let me check. That's a good question, but
either
he
way.
might get moved.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say either way, he's either not coming back next year or we move him. And he could be he's one of those guys that's a piece
What have
that a
you
lot of teams
thought
would like.
of his play so far? We haven't really. We've
We
got to
haven't
actually
really
see.
seen him that
Yeah,
much.
but he's played
Um,
more since the last episode.
Let me look up his game log real quick just so I don't get anything wrong. I mean, based on
I'll
what
look up
I've
his
seen,
contract.
it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Like he kind of fit into the flow of things pretty well.
He's an off-ball player, so he's
Had
pretty
10
easy to
points
just kind of fit in there. I liked
against
him shooting
Miami.
threes. Like,
Yeah. So far he's been solid from 3. Um in his 3 games with us, he is 3 for 5 from 3
wow. So actually, um, I
in very
guess
limited minutes.
because of the trade, he is. It got so 2K is wrong because I was just going off my 2K knowledge. To be completely honest with you, that's why I thought it was 18 million. No, so he's on contract for sure next year, but
Uh-huh.
it's an expiring deal, so he really isn't on contract for sure. We could move him, and it's 12 million, which is actually pretty reasonable. So I don't mind bringing him back though. That's
I
kind of a
don't
little bit
either.
of
It depends on what they want to do with Lonnie, like we're
yeah.
talking about.
That's a
Because
good point.
he could be a very like for the time being, like the Spurs are like, all right, we're gonna slot him into those minutes that Lonnie was getting, and then move Primo up or whatever, and not lose an ounce of sleep over it.
Yeah.
Or we move him and keep Lonnie. Who knows? But somebody's gonna get moved.
Yeah, I think Primo's taking somebody's minutes at the end of the day.
Yep.
But I think that the point you made, and I know I already said this, but just to reiterate it, the point you made about Lonnie getting signed probably by the Spurs, like at the end of the day, I think is a really good point because I don't think that anybody's really going to be like offering him that much. And then if they do, you just don't match it. You know, it's really simple. But thinking about Primo, I don't really think that Lonnie's coming back. I just really don't. He's playing well right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's see how the rest of the season
Yeah,
goes. Let's
that's
see how it goes.
and you know that's what Pop said, and I'm glad you said that because that's what I wanted to say. Like with the preemptive thing before this whole conversation, is he was like, "Look, he's doing really good right now, but we need to keep seeing this,"
Yeah.
and that's probably we don't need to be asking ourselves this question, I guess, too early. You know what I mean? Because what if he goes back to just being Lonnie?
Yeah, it could have been a fluke. He came
for
off
the
a long break for All-Star Weekend.
for the rest of the year.
Yep.
And this is a super easy question. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When May comes around. So Let's see what our man M Easy has to say. So with Primo, Lonnie, and Vassell holding down shooting guard and small forward, they have to upgrade the power forward position. But I would still. He also adds that he would still draft a center as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the idea is we consolidate all of our draft picks and maybe throw in somebody like a Lonnie Walker. I don't know, and get Chet Holmgren. But I
I don't
don't
think
think
it's
that
gonna happen.
that's gonna happen. But I would like to draft a big man too. I think if we get another 6'6" guard, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
We'll put him at power forward.
Yeah, we'll play.
Easy.
Yes, that's what we're doing with Keldon. So
Yeah, exactly. Like
no,
literally a guy that we
he's
drafted as a
he,
2. He was a shooting guard.
he's a little bit more of a 3. Like I'll at
Yeah,
least give
yeah.
him that. But he was playing like growing up in high school. He wasn't really playing much post.
No, not at all. Which we talked about last episode. I think if he actually did learn how to post up, he would be extremely deadly. Okay. Yeah, that's just our luck, bro. That's just the Spurs' luck. We're gonna let him walk, and he's gonna go win Finals MVP with the Cavs. He's gonna join the
Yeah,
Cavs.
with the Cavs as their
Dar-
sixth man and
Darius Garland backcourt with Lonnie
eh,
Walker. Ooh, oh, and Karis LeVert too. That's a deadly team.
and then he's gonna go on the mic and he's gonna say, Pop told me he said that I reminded him of Manu Ginobili, and even though I didn't do it with the Spurs, I did it here. Just gonna.
Cleveland.
I know, right? We're,
Oh God.
we're prophesizing this, and then it's actually gonna happen in 2025, and then
Mm.
we're gonna come back on here and be like, "Wow, we didn't mean for this.
Nope.
It wasn't supposed to happen this way."
Rip. But speaking of power forwards, I did want to talk about Zach Collins' play over the Rodeo road trip. Um, a lot of people I saw on Twitter were very upset with Zach Collins. Or I shouldn't say very upset, disappointed in how
Mm-hmm.
he has panned out thus far. I think the expectations were probably way too high for Zach Collins because even before his injury, he wasn't a star or anything. He was a role
Mm-hmm.
player. He was a backup center to Josef Nurkic or a backup power forward on that Portland team. Then he got hurt. He's been out for 2 years. Now he's back. To me, he has shown glimpses of what he is capable of, which is to be a shot blocking, pick setter that rolls to the rim, gets easy baskets. Basically, a much improved version of Drew Eubanks that can also shoot from time to time. But his shooting has been really bad recently. I know he only gets about 2 attempts a game, but he hasn't hit since the Chicago game. He went 1 for 3. Otherwise, he was just 0 for 2, 0 for 0, 0 for 2, 0 for 1 in the past few games on the Rodeo road trip. His impact has not been felt as much as I think we both wanted it to be felt, if that makes sense. Even still, as he is an improvement over Drew Eubanks and, sorry, I'm blanking on his name, Jock Landale. The difference between Jakob Pertl and our backup center is just really like telling. I don't know how to say that properly, but when Jakob goes to the bench, it is obvious, if that makes sense. Our team was a completely different team. So I just wanted to see what you thought of his performance and whatnot.
Well, I think that when you talk about Jakob leaving the floor, excuse me, I think that is more of a testament. Like I think that's more about how good Jakob is, and less about like how bad Zach Collins is, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I get where everybody's coming from on this, but I think that the other thing is like he's still getting back into basketball.
I agree.
He's not fully physically comfortable, obviously. But that's the thing that I think of is kind of what you were kind of saying throughout. And I know people might want more than this, but in the context of this season, and really when you look at the context of Zach Collins' contract, it kind of all makes sense to me, like where he's at right now. And the other thing is like he's still 24. Like,
True.
so he is a developing player still. But look, let's just think about Zach Collins and think about Thaddeus Young and or Drew Eubanks at the beginning of the year. And maybe this is just me not watching enough film and I'm completely crazy here, but I still feel like it's night and day with Zach Collins out there in comparison to Thaddeus Young or Drew Eubanks.
I don't know
What do you
night and
think?
day, but I'll go afternoon dusk.
Okay. Yeah.
It's definitely an improvement. I just think Spurs fans in general, and maybe you and I to an extent, we're expecting a little bit too much immediately. Um, that being said, like you said, he is definitely an improvement.
Yes, yes. I agree with what Eric says right here. And for those of you guys listening on podcast, he's saying Zach is just rushing everything. He wants to be 100 already. We need to relax him. It's been 2 years. That is very true. But what I will say is I also get what M Easy's saying here. He's saying he's not playing good overall at the 5. He definitely hasn't had the best 4 games stretch. But the second part of this is kind of what I agree with a little bit more, and that's that his defense is not much better than Landale. Like he has the blocks, but he gets beat a lot.
He does.
A lot. So this is kind of one of the things where we're just going to have to wait it out and really see. He's on a very low-risk contract, so maybe it doesn't work out. That may just be the case. Obviously, we're really excited for it. But yeah, we're just gonna have to really wait and see how it continues going. Because the other thing is, in some of these games, like, yes, he hasn't shot the 3 very well, but he hasn't been shooting much, and he's been still playing like down low. He had a couple 6, 7 board, 5 board games. Washington was a little weak there, but he's been able to have a little bit of a presence at least. But I get what they're saying. But he's a 24-year-old. Coming off a major injury.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even really think about it until I went on Twitter the other night, and people were just trashing Zach Collins, like right and left. And I was like, I don't know. I'll talk to Jude about it on the podcast.
I think this is a good little comparison here from our man Old Mate. He's a stopgap solution for sure. I'm honestly not even sure what that means, but I feel like it fits. He's like right. A plug. It's like it stops the water from coming out completely, but it's still leaking a little bit.
Pause.
But you know what I mean on defense.
Yes,
yeah.
On defense especially. Yes.
Yeah. No,
if
the
he can fix his jump shot a little bit too, it's way like miles of improvement. If he can just kind of get his 3-pointer to fall a little bit more consistently.
At the end of the day, we cannot accept his team option and sign like Mitchell Robinson if we want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, so
we can waive him pretty much anytime we want.
Like we really could, yeah.
But I'm not ready to do that yet.
Yeah, I mean, like but the thing is, the crazy thing is with his contract, like we could send him to the G League again next year. Like if we really wanted to.
That'd be funny.
Like, like we could do that for the next 2 years and just develop him if that's really what they wanted to do. So that's the good news. Like with all of the Zach concerns, it's like it's not really a concern for the Spurs at the end of the day. I have a
question for you, Jude. Sort of based on the comment MEZ just put, which is maybe we should play Zach at the 4 more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envision him starting at the 4, but how would you feel kind of taking Keita's minutes away for a few games, putting Zach at the 4, and inserting Jacques Landale at the 5 next to him?
No.
You're not a fan of that defensively?
No, because exactly. We're gonna get cooked. Like
it's a field day for these guards.
We're getting cooked. But if we want to put Zach in next to Jakob, I'm all for it. And I'm just and I would just be curious to see if it changes anything. Because if that's the case, maybe you can roll with Jock at the 4-2, and maybe that would fix up, and cover some of their defensive abilities. But the problem is, with playing those guys at the 4, there's one thing. You're going to get a plus in rebounding, but in today's NBA, even physical 4s, like think about like a Jeremy Grant or they've been playing Patrick Williams at the 4. He's a little young, not as much proven, but you get what I'm saying. Like they can beat you off the dribble in today's NBA. Like, so I just feel like, Pascal Siakam in a 1-on-1 with Jock Landale, like doesn't sound very, very Spurs success making. So
yes,
that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I would still like to see it because you never know. It could work out. The rebounds may be enough.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised we haven't gone. Because at the beginning of the season, everybody was talking about how Pop was going to get crazy with the lineups.
And he was talking about it. Him specifically.
Yeah, it was coming from his mouth.
Yeah.
And really, we haven't had anything crazy happen.
We found consistent lineups, and that's what we've used, which is the exact opposite of what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
But maybe that was just, practical or normal pop, and he was just trolling us the whole time.
I guess so. God. Like, we literally haven't seen a crazy lineup. Like, we had more, like, variation in our lineups back when we were winning championships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we get from any given night, who knew who was going to start back in, like, 2014, 15, 16. And now
we
it's
would
like,
just
we
start
know.
Marco randomly.
Yeah. Boris would be at the 5.
And it wouldn't even, like, we would still play, like, stars.
Yeah.
Like we would just randomly change things up, yeah.
But we haven't done that, like, once this year. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the day I turn my TV on and it's like starting lineup: Trey Jones, DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, and Keldon and Jakob. And, it's like,
and Keita.
And Keita Bates Diop. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Let's go. Let's see if it works. Oh, by the way, shout out to Trey Jones in the Miami game. What was his exact stat line? I think he had like 19 points and 10 assists or something like that. Filling in for DeJounte Murray. 19 points, 11 assists, and 6 boards in 36 minutes of play.
Yeah.
That is a great game for my man Trey Jones. I'm telling you, I've been saying it, Jude. He is real. He is the real deal.
He's a steal. He's a steal. We got him in the second round, and he is, 9 for 13. I mean, that's what he can be. He's just he's a really good point guard. Like, he's just a straight up point guard, and he's a dog defensively.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's exactly what you want. Like, he's the perfect backup point guard. But the problem is some teams are going to want him to start. So we'll see, though. I think we can get him to stay in San Antonio.
He's shooting 56% since February started. That's crazy. And he's only like, what, 6'2", 6'3"?
6'3", yeah.
That's unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great cutter, too. Like, that's the crazy thing, is he can facilitate the offense, but, like, he is also fantastic with his off-ball movement, which isn't something that's kind of unique for a point guard.
I agree with what Mark just said. If he could just get a slightly consistent 3, doesn't even have to be 40%, 33, 35% from 3. Just be deadly enough to tempt your defender to move up a little bit. He's going to be really dangerous.
I'm glad Mark said that, because shout out to my man Gage Sutton. He's a producer for Bally Sports and just the broadcast over there for the Spurs. And he was texting me the other day, and this is what he was saying. He's like, the only thing with Trey Jones, he's like, all he needs is a jumper. And hey, you got Chip England, get him in there.
It's coming.
We saw with Keldon, we know it's no problem. And the other thing was, I don't know if any of y'all saw this, but I tweeted after Devin, which game? I think this was the Miami game, when Devin started off with that crazy poster on Duncan Robinson, and I just tweeted Devin in all caps with the 2 exploding head emojis, and our man Gage put that on the Spurs broadcast. So SSPN went big. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I wonder if he can get us some jobs.
I know, right? Yeah. Hey, does Bally Sports need a new Spurs talk show?
Yeah, maybe. Hey. Or we can just replace that old man Bill Land. I love Bill Land, bro. He's the best.
We can replace they actually have like the hosts for, not the halftime show, but I forget, his hair was always
spiky.
Not spiky. I don't know.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Short little man.
I don't know. He was always on there with Matt Bonner.
Yeah, he's sometimes does play-by-play instead of Bill Land occasionally.
No, that's Dan Weiss.
Oh. Who am I thinking of? Oh,
you're thinking of Dan Weiss.
Yeah.
But that's not who I'm thinking of right now. I can't remember his name. He's literally just the studio host.
Oh.
Yeah. But maybe he might have been taken off after Fox Sports Southwest. And they did
I have
transfer.
no idea.
But yeah. Shout out Dan Weiss, though. Him and Sean Elliott were good on the last broadcast.
Shout out Dan Weiss.
I wasn't trying to, take any of his shine.
It's such a random shout out.
Shout out Michelle Beadle. She's been killing it on the broadcast.
She's good. I like her.
No, she's funny. She's really funny. Spiky hair.
That's his name.
Okay. Well, but just kind of going back to the overall like rodeo road trip, what were kind of your thoughts on like just going? Rick Renner, that's who it was. Thank you, Tanner. Rick Renner. That's who I was thinking of. I was like, we got to take Rick Renner's job. But I don't know if Rick Renner still has a job. So I should probably figure that out before
Yeah,
before I,
before stealing his job.
yeah.
He's like he doesn't even do that anymore. He's like a
Yeah.
pharmaceutical rep, and you're like, I want that job. I'm taking it.
Hey, I want that one too. That makes the big bucks.
Mm.
But anyways, getting back to this rodeo road trip, going 4-5. Like, what do you think of that? I think honestly, that's pretty good. That's
I was
like,
surprised we went 4-5.
yeah,
I thought we were gonna go 2-7. Like I really did. Like I did not think we would do as well as we did. Pleasantly surprised. Most of that's probably because of Lonnie Walker stepping up his game. Like we said, hopefully that remains consistent.
yep. Not really much else to say. Well, y'all go ahead and fire away in the chat if you have any other questions, any other thoughts of some things that are happening. And yes, I think you just had a realization, Ethan.
Tanner,
Tell the people.
I didn't know Beetle was a Bernie alum. I'm from Bernie too. Tanner and I went to high school together. I don't know if you figured that out.
I had assumed.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
Look at
I wonder
that.
if she can get us a job, Jude.
See, she just needs to, you got to be like, look, I'm a young Bernie filmmaker on the come up.
Yep.
I do the Spurs show.
I'll come sit courtside.
Let's make it happen.
I'll be the Jack Nicholson for the Spurs. Dude, I totally will. That would be a dream come true if I actually became
I'll
successful.
be Spike Lee.
Yeah, it should be. If anybody's Spike, it's me. If anyone's making bad movies, it's me.
Well, I guess moving forward, let's just talk about kind of the schedule, because really there's not, I mean, DJ's had some good games, but like we once again, we talked about it before the All-Star episode. That was like the establishment of DeJounte Murray. We know he's an All-Star player. Keldon has really stepped up as of late too. That's somebody else who we haven't really talked about. He's really just been scoring.
In all sorts of ways, too. Not just like the one-dimensional Keldon Johnson we saw at the beginning of the year. Like he is shooting his three, obviously way better, and kind of showing us a little bit of his bag as we continue to move along the season.
Yeah, absolutely. He led all scorers in the Washington game. He had 32 there.
Yeah, that was a crazy night.
And then even though it was an L, he did lead scoring in the Cleveland game. Only had 18, but still led the way there. And this was before the rodeo road trip, but had 28 in that Houston game as well. And there are a couple other games where DeJounte had 30, where he had around 20. He was just kind of overshadowed by DeJounte being
Dude,
an
he
all-star.
only missed one free throw during the rodeo road trip.
Keldon?
Keldon.
That's a really good stat.
That is nuts.
Yeah, that's insane. But see, this is what I'm saying about Trey Jones, though. That's the Chip England effect right there.
Yeah, you're totally right. Averaging a steal a game, too.
Heck yeah. All right, well, we got an update on Rick Renner. So Renner's still handling the studio duties. So I wasn't that far out. I was a little bit far out because I didn't remember his name. But we do have a job to steal, Ethan.
Perfect.
And then my man Peter in here, appreciate you being in here, my guy. The game, there is no game tonight. So you're in the right place and don't have to worry about that. But the Spurs do have a game coming up, and our man Old Mate is asking us for some predictions for that one. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that. And I want to say that we're pretty close right now in the standings. If I can find the Western Conference standings. They're 23 and 40. Yeah, we're right next to each other. We're actually a game and a half apart. So they could gain a game on us. They're 3 games out right now of that 10 seed. So if they want any hope, they're going to really go hard in this last stretch. But the thing is, I think that we may be playing Domantas Sabonis in this game. So that, I think, is really going to be the X factor, is just how him and Jakob match up. And if Jakob cooks him, then we should be cooked for wanting him.
True.
But this will definitely be a game that, in the scope of this season, this will be a fun game for Spurs fans to watch, because so many of us were interested in Sabonis at the trade deadline. So I think they're actually going to be in a back-to-back, because they're playing the Pelicans
right now.
tonight. Yeah.
I got the Spurs edging over them. They're off a back-to-back. I give DeJounte the edge over De'Aaron Fox, and honestly, I think that's where the game will be won, is which point guard has a better game. And DeJounte just plays an all-around game way better than De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion. Um, Plus, we just have more weapons. I know they have two all-star caliber players with Fox and Sabonis, but other than that, what, Harrison Barnes is going to beat us? I don't think so. Rashawn Holmes? I don't think so.
Yeah. It's this will probably be a close game, but I'm kind of with you there. If you look at any Kings Spurs game, like over the past 2 seasons, it really has been DeJounte versus De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
And it's super fun to watch. Like, that's one of those games where, like, yeah, it's not super important in the grand scheme of the league, but, like, it's going to be a super fun game to tune into. I think that the Spurs will win too. I think the big thing is just coming back home finally.
Yeah.
From the rodeo road trip. The dudes will have slept in their own bed. That'll help a lot. And I think that Jakob's going to outplay Sabonis in this game. I think that not only will DJ do it, but I think that Jakob's going to really come out and be like, "Yeah, dude, they ain't trading me for your ass." So hopefully.
Wait a minute. Trey Lyles is on the Kings?
Oh no.
Lyles.
It's Chimezie and Trey Lyles.
Oh, we're doomed.
They're coming for us. Oh no. That's
crazy. I didn't realize they got traded.
Keita Bates is going to outplay both of them and be like, not only did I take both of your spot, but I also took Luka Samanich's spot.
Wow.
We need to check in on Luka Samanich right now. Did y'all see Nick? This is completely off topic. Nick Stauskas had 57 last night in the G League and went 11 for 18. So I think that we should sign him next.
Dude, I didn't realize the Kings had Dante DiVincenzo. I think I did know that, but I just forgot.
So that'll be. They've got some additions. They're gonna be tough. Like, it'll be an even game. That's what our man Old Mate said. But I think the Spurs will edge it out too.
Davion Mitchell gonna lock up Lonnie? Question mark.
That's actually a really good
Off
question.
Night? That's his nickname. Off Night.
Off Night.
That's pretty cool.
I'm trying to find Luka Samanic. All right, here we are.
So are the Spurs.
I know.
The Spurs trying to find him for 3 years.
We don't know where he went. Where was he? Yeah, this says another dominant G League effort. Tallied 25 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal in 32 minutes Thursday. But I don't know when that was. That might have been super early in the year.
Dude, he just likes fucking... Oh.
There we go. Hey, it happens. The advertisers are coming for us now, Ethan.
I was gonna say he just likes dominating in the G League and wants nothing to do with the actual NBA.
Yep,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, he's out right now. His status is that he's out.
Oh God.
So he's injured, and that was 1 month ago. So he's been injured for a month, and he played against Utah and scored 15 points and got 24 minutes, but that's really...
Metu didn't play the last game for the Kings also. The last 2 games, Metu didn't play. So I guess he's out of the lineup, which is good for us.
So it's a foot injury that Luka is out with, Floyd Kizzy says.
Thank you, Floyd.
And yeah, Chimezie is going to play out of his mind against us for no reason, even though he's not even like a really good NBA player.
Dude, he hasn't gotten minutes in forever. So
he's going to come play us and go for 30.
I swear. If he does, they just put him in the starting lineup. It's him and Trey.
Yeah, it's going to be them, and they're just going to be like, everybody...
Clear out.
Yeah, clear out. It's Chimezie in a one-on-one with Keita Bates. Oh. Okay, so yeah, Floyd's saying that Lyles and Metu are gonna. The thing is, they are. That's how it always is with these like small market Spurs games. If there's any like former teammates or team players, they just go crazy. It seems like that always happens with the Spurs. Yeah. Especially with this team this year.
I know.
And last year too.
You know what I don't remember, though? I don't think Jonathan Simmons actually did very well when he came back to play us.
But he didn't do very well in
period
at all.
Rip.
My man needed to stay. He
did.
He would have been the next Manu.
So sad.
That's honestly one of my favorite memories is Jonathan Simmons going crazy in Game 1 versus the KD Warriors in their debut, hitting a half-court buzzer beater. Freaking Jonathan Simmons.
Whoa.
And we were wearing those blackout jerseys, too. Speaking of
Mm,
that, did you see, this
I
is,
did.
because we could kind of end on this. Recently, there were some leaked images, we'll see how true they are, of some potential jerseys next year. There's the Fiestas. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of those. I just don't like the teal. I love the design. I don't like the teal. That's the only thing I don't like about it. If you made it white or black, I'd love it. But just not a big fan of the teal. Just think it's an ugly color personally. But the big thing, honestly, was the throwback blackout Spurs jerseys with the OG Nike logo. And that was what I was really excited for. And everybody was making edits of DeJounte. And that's... Can we just use that jersey instead of the gray one? Can we just get rid of the gray one? The gray... Dude, the grays, I can't do it. I just... Every time I turn on the TV, the past 2 games we've been playing them, and I'm just like, man, these are so ugly.
Yes, I know. I despise the gray ones. We finally got rid of the camo ones. Now It's time to get rid of the gray ones.
Yeah. But what did you think of the jerseys? Dude,
they're fire.
But you're no teal, or do you still like the teal?
You know what's funny? I saw that post of like the leaked ones, and I was looking for the Spurs ones, and I only saw the teal one at first, and I was like, whatever. Well, the 2 other ones that we've had the past 2 years, I thought were way cooler. But then I went to the comments. People were like, "Spurs ones are heat. Spurs look great," and I was like, "Really?" And I went back and looked, and I saw the blackout ones, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, here we go. Those are nice for sure."
Heck yeah. Well, I think that's really it. I mean, we can kind of go through and look at some of these other games. Like, there's the Kings game coming up.
We do need to win the next 4 games if we want to have any chance of being in the play-in, in my opinion.
Thank you for saying that, because that is something else that's also pertinent. And I'm looking at the rest of the schedule kind of after these next 4, and we're going to have some gimmies in there, but we're going to have a lot of like guaranteed L's probably too. Mm-hmm. We play 3 games against Portland. I think that's going to be interesting. Oh no, Drew revenge game. Is if he's still on the roster.
13 and 9 the other night.
We'll see.
Boy, crushing it.
We'll see if he's still on the roster because he was on a 10-day.
Him and Anthony Simons are the next Kobe and Shaq duo? ?
Kobe and Shaq were the first Anthony and Drew.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's gonna be like Simons up to Drew and like
to Eubanks.
To Eubanks. The point.
Yeah, Tanner was talking about Lonnie holding up the Bill O.B. Or not the Bill O.P. The Bill Russell. The Bill Russell trophy.
I was like, Bill O'Brien.
I know, and then I was thinking of Bill O'Brien, and I was like, that's not even... It's the Larry O.B. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Okay, but the Bill Russell trophy, it's going to be Drew Eubanks.
Yeah, for sure. He's a triple-double.
He's from Troutdale, Oregon.
They don't produce
He's
non-MVP caliber
He's
players.
Home.
Yeah, he is.
This is what we needed.
Troutdale.
He's finally unlocked. He's never leaving my wall.
Dude, I still love him. I watch his highlights. Like I literally after every Portland game, I look and see if he scored.
Oh, Derek's kind of he's slowed down a little bit, but he's exactly what he's kind of playing similar to how he played with us. But the thing is, that's exactly what the Celtics need.
Yeah, he had 18 the other night. He's a solid pickup for them. I'm glad he's winning.
I'm glad he's like in a system too where he's way more valued and like way more important and his role is way more clear and he can be himself more.
Sounds like we're talking about like toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. Like
yeah.
He just got out of that. He's being appreciated now. Like the Celtics appreciate who he is as a person.
Yeah. Whenever he was in San Antonio, all he heard about was DeJounte.
Yep. Exactly.
And now all he hears about in Boston is Derek.
That's right.
It's
he doesn't have to hint at flowers. He just gets them.
He doesn't have to try to love himself. The people just love himself for him. You know?
Yep. That's why I have this mood lighting.
Now. He's like, it's like the episode of Pokemon where they had to let go of Butterfree. That was like when we traded Derek. What are your thoughts on that?
You had to hit me with the Butterfree.
Dude, did it hit you? Was that an important episode for your childhood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. I didn't mean that. Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That was
That's
for
good.
me too. Yeah. Yeah. I think on that note, that's a good one to end.
Yeah. Not as bad as the Gary Please Come Home song though.
Oh no.
Oh. Dude, I listened to that on the way walking to class the other day. Almost burst into tears.
Probably Tony Parker is the only like example of that where I can think of a Spur where I'd wanted to play that song after they left. I'm glad he retired after 1 year.
I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna listen to that after this podcast is over.
Okay, but also like don't get too down, Ethan.
It's just
Your lights, your
maintenance.
Your maintenance guys haven't been there for you. For those of you guys who don't know, Ethan and or listening on podcast, Ethan, this whole episode, he doesn't have lights in your apartment,
in my bedroom or my bathroom.
Because
I'm in darkness after 6:30. I'm in darkness every night because my maintenance man won't come replace my light bulb. And before you say replace it yourself, I am not supposed to. They told me not to do that, so I haven't. I've been doing the correct thing here. Don't be like my dad. My dad was like, just go buy a bulb. Like, why are you so lazy? And it's like, I'm not lazy. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, I have a lamp on my desk, and it's huge. But that's how I'm lighting myself right now.
And so y'all should go tune into the YouTube episode if you're listening on podcast and check out Ethan's lamp next to his face the whole episode. Anyways. Yes. All right, y'all. Go Spurs, go. Thanks for hanging out today. We appreciate y'all. We'll be back in the near future talking some more Spurs. And we're just getting nearer and nearer to more big moves in San Antonio. And, I hate to say it, but we're getting closer and closer to the 2022-23 NBA season as every day passes. So hopefully DeJounte will have some help then. All right. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.